Good morning, everyone. Good morning, good evening. My name is Ganesh. I think we are a little late, but I think we can start. Thank you, everyone, for joining. So before I proceed for this webinar, this is 1.5 hour webinar we have planned. So last 15 minutes, I will give you time for questions and answers. So to begin with, let me introduce myself. I hope I'm audible to everyone, and all of you can see my screen as well. Okay, so kindly confirm in the chat box. So I can look at the chat box for your queries or in the confirmation about my voice clarity and my screen is visible. I hope so. So my name is Ganesh Bhure. I have total 17 years of experience in IT industry. So when I started my career, I started as a software developer. Then I used to work on C++ in 2005, 2006 when I started my career, early 2006. So I used to work on C++ and Linux on Linux platform. Okay, that time it was Solaris and Solaris 8 and 10 I worked. Then later on, I worked on different technologies, especially in terms of automation. For first 7-8 years, I was a software developer, and then it was more into automation using Perl, using shell scripts, using Python later on. And in 2016 and 2017, while I was with Tata Communications, we were developing in-house product. Okay, internally we wanted to develop a new product to replace a vendor product. So me and our team, the counterpart was in Montreal, Canada. So that was a time, we designed a new software to develop with the help of source code. Open source code. So that's where we started exploring in 2017. I was part of the development team to explore on the microservices based architecture. So that was the time we started Docker, and 2018 was the time we actually worked on Docker. So it was not very new, but not very popular like it is today, right? Then 2019 and 2020, it was more into Kubernetes. So we implemented Kubernetes-based container orchestration for our application. So that's where I got a chance to work with some open source community. So Kafka Topic Exporter, this is one of the product from OpenCard. It's a telecom-based product from the card. So it's open source community. So as part of this development, okay, this is a product we redesigned, re-architected that time. And I was a good contributor there in the open source community. I was part of the dev team. And I remember I have some fixes, I guess. Okay, that's where, why I'm telling this is, because this is a journey where I got a chance to work on Kubernetes, 2019. Okay, this was a time I worked on Golang, and we converted the existing application into a microservices-based application, right? So that's where I got a chance to work on Docker, Kubernetes, then Jenkins. So 2020, I was part of a DevOps team. Okay, then I worked in a DevOps. So that's where I extensively worked on Ansible and especially the Ansible and Jenkins. Okay, so a lot of automation we used to do in Jenkins, and we used Ansible as well for our deployments. So that's how I became a DevOps engineer. So I was part of DevOps team. I was part of SRE, Site Reliability Engineering for a product company. So since 2018 onwards, I'm mostly into consulting. So I work on different roles as architect for various projects, and I do impart technology training as well. So it's been 11 years I'm into training, and for 11 years I do impart technology trainings. So initially, like in 2012, 13, 14, so it was more of Linux and C system programming. Okay, that's where I started my training career. So I used to deliver training on this. So that's where I realized, I'm good in training and consulting work. So I don't work as a full-time engineer anywhere, but I work on many projects and multiple things in my own company. And I have been associated with Cognitia for last 5 years, I have been into different technology trainings with Cognitia for various corporates as well as the batches, the public batches, the one which we are talking now. Okay. So this was a brief introduction from my side. Okay. And coming back to Cognitia, so they have the excellence in providing the new age technologies, the modern tech stacks, and the today's most popular training programs are delivered successfully across the globe by Cognitia. So these are some of the areas: machine learning, artificial intelligence, DevOps, big data analytics, cloud computing, cybersecurity, IoT. These are some of the emerging technologies in today's technology world. So I hope you're aware of this. And this is where Cognitia stands, and they have done fantastic work with the world-class trainers for across the globe for many people. They have helped to scale their skills and enhance their skills, and make impact in their career as well as to shape their career. So today we will be focusing on DevOps. So it's a roadmap to modern DevOps practice. There is some outline I will walk you through, and then I will let you know the flow, like how we are going to do or what we are going to do in 1 hour, right? Because last 15 minutes it will be more of question answers, but I have 1 hour to make you understand a little bit of DevOps. Okay, I may not be able to really give you a deeper knowledge here, but at least you will get a sense of what DevOps is and how this will help in the modern development product development lifecycle, right? So I'll try to put my experience here for you to understand, okay, and my experience on what DevOps is and how it helps in the today's digital era, right? So I'll try to put as much as I know, okay, and I will welcome your thoughts, your inputs, your suggestions, right? And maybe if you have something to add, okay, that would be really great. Okay, so the outline, it's partially added here, so it's not the complete outline for the course, but today at least I will try to give you the introduction of DevOps, Git, Maven, and automation through through Jenkins, CI/CD, and Docker and Kubernetes overview as well. Okay, so this is what the plan is for today. So I'll see how much we can go. I'll pause for 10 seconds. Is there any question for me? All right. So first of all, let's understand, guys, DevOps. What is DevOps? What it is about? Okay. So it's not a technology. Okay. It's not a technology, but what it is, why people are talking about DevOps a lot, and why it is one of the mandatory skill, I would say, because it's one of the most important skill, whatever role you are in at this moment in your career, or even if you have not started the career, how this helps you wherever you go. Okay, it's a main tool one should hold. Okay, and that helps. For example, I have worked on many technologies, but you know what? In 2006, I worked on Linux, and even that Linux, every bit of the Linux what I worked those days is still useful today, right? There are some technologies that is definitely needed. Then again, it's 18 months that we don't guarantee any technology, right? Later on, today it's AI, tomorrow it's it's something else, right? So this is how it is. The evolution is so fast, and development happens so fast that we have to keep on learning. Okay, but there are some areas that is definitely needed, and it goes longer, right? So such kind of automation we do with the help of DevOps, and this processes helps you have the foundational skills to sustain in the industry. Okay, so we'll talk about it. So first of all, let me give you a little bit of a background, a historical overview, like what this evolution is, how the evolution in the digital era happens. Okay, I don't have my marker right now, but I will try to write it here. So dev process. You know what development process? Have you heard about it? What is the development process today? Have you heard about any process? So it's, when I started in 2005, end of the year, actually it was 2006, I would say, early 2006. So that time when I was part of a dev team, one heavy server was given to me. Okay, it was Sunbox. I still remember that logo. Okay, it was there on the hard disk, on the hardware as well, right? So it's a Sun Solaris box, meaning the hardware and operating system used to come together. Okay, today we are so agile that we can attach anything. Okay, so today we are agile and DevOps. So, but when I started, it was traditional, I would say, a heavy software, heavy hardware, and it used to run, and this is a monolithic architecture. We used to build our software onto this particular hardware, and these were tightly coupled, and it used to take really longer time to even produce the binaries. Okay, we used to fire the build command today and evening, and we used to see in the next day. Or sometimes it used to take a couple of hours. So, that's how we have, at least I have seen. Okay, that time I used to hear a lot about something called waterfall. Have you heard about it? Those who are having some good experience or 10 plus years in the industry, they might understand this. Okay, there's a waterfall model. Okay, waterfall, and then there is a agile, and then there is a agile plus DevOps, right? So agile plus DevOps is what we hear today. It's just not agile. We still follow the Scrum. We still do a lot of sprint planning and many things we do, but then we do in the DevOps way. Okay, if the company is not following DevOps, they are struggling, and they are getting this skill into their projects. Or skill in the sense the process they are adopting, right? If you come to application the architecture, right? So application architecture. So, that's something, you might have heard earlier. So application is monolithic. Okay, it was monolithic, a very heavy software we used to build together. So every component of the software used to be together. Okay, monolithic. So, and then later on, it's more of N-tier. Have you heard about N-tier applications, 3-tier application? The backend logic is different, then front end is different, and then database they have separated. So, they realize that, binding everything together, tight coupling is not going to help. Okay. So if there is a problem in a backend logic, so at least front end should show to the customer with some error, it's okay, but at least the front end has to be up. Okay, otherwise they will feel like company is vanished, isn't it? If it is an e-commerce or something. Well, the next is today it's more of microservices based. Okay, it's more of microservices based architecture. So that's what you hear, right? It's microservices. Those who are in Java development, okay, there are different frameworks that creates microservices based architectures, and we follow. So be it a Golang, be it a Python, be it a C++ or any programming language, now we prefer to have microservices based architecture. On the infra side, okay, this is what in my experience when I started in 2006 to what we see in today 2024. Okay, this is the evolution I have witnessed. So in terms of infrastructure, okay, in terms of infrastructure, what you have heard, or what do you think is happened? So I remember there we used to have data centers, okay, hosted applications. And today it's mostly everything is on cloud. It could be a private cloud or it could be a public cloud, but it's all on the cloud. Now you don't have to have that big labs, running with chilled AC So it's less now. It's hardly you find it unless it's a critical banking company. But otherwise, it's all on the cloud. Okay, nobody wants to really maintain the data centers and take care of the infrastructure. It is all on the cloud. It is on the private cloud or public cloud, but it's cloud-based infrastructure management, right? And in terms of packaging, deployment, you see that physical versus virtualized versus containerized. Okay, so it's mostly a containerized applications you see today. Okay, so we want to have that containerized applications, and that's what you might have heard about, right? I don't know what made you to join this webinar, but I'm sure you might have heard about some of these skills, or I would say these are terms in the industry today. So this is what helps you learn and use in the real time. Okay, and why do you think this change has happened? What makes people to have such a huge change? Okay, why this change? Okay, to me, if you ask, so I remember even in 2009, 2010, we were not very comfortable shopping online or putting order everything. Neither the companies were so flexible, right? Today, even a $1 item or $10 item is also delivered without really extra charges, right? So the companies has evolved, the people's belief and confidence has evolved, their lifestyle has changed. So obviously, one factor, the most important factor, is speed and capacity. Now 3G, 4G, 5G, okay, fiber to home. So these things have made everything super fast. Okay, now we used to see our mobile, and we used to open a video and it used to run round and round, right? We used to wait for some time to get it delivered or downloaded. Now kids don't tolerate that, isn't it? So they know, like, they have to switch to Wi-Fi, and they don't even know that the speed is lesser, right, these days. So speed and capacity. Okay, these are two important factors. Now capacity, when I say, now, can you imagine a e-commerce company doing business in 2009 versus today? Okay, if there were 100 orders per second that time, it is 25x probably. What do you think? Okay, so it's a capacity, right? Then the automation, right? What kind of automation we do today? Okay, while I was in Reliance 2010, okay, the leadership used to talk about automation. We used to make fun of it, right? But then later on we realized it's all automation. So leadership used to say that you should do some kind of automation that should replace your work. Okay, in a positive note they used to say, but we used to take it otherwise. So that's how the automation people used to talk, and today it's really huge, right? Everything is automated. We need everything to be done automatically. The programming is evolved, processes has evolved. Okay, now this whole thing is evolved such a way that it's difficult. If we have it monolithic today, it's not possible to manage. Waterfall, it's failed, right? So that is why the evolution is. Okay, now what happens, like now, even if we have these many things right now, there is always a scope or room for improvement. Okay, there is always a room for improvement. So what DevOps is, DevOps in the sense, like, this whole journey, our whole history, what I spoke here is to make you understand that today's product development lifecycle, project development lifecycle, or product or project, right? So it's like, what do you think, what happens when we want to develop something, be it a startup or be it a new initiative in the existing company? So what do they do? Okay, the bunch of people comes together and they plan to develop something. They plan and figure out, they understand the need of the market, and probably they plan, right? So it's a plan. Okay, it's a plan. Okay, so they plan something. correct? Then what they do, they code. This is what exactly I realized when we were developing in 2017. Okay, so we thought of replacing a vendor product. Okay, and there were super senior people were there in Montreal. I was there in Montreal for some time, so in this initial architecture discussions. So how we planned, how we used to spend hours in the conference room. So now what they do is they plan their code. Now they just don't code, but they will try and understand how they can code it better. Okay, better, and how they can save their time by reusing the existing code from the source code community, open source communities, right? Then build, test. These are the steps you need to follow, right, in the entire process of delivering this to customer, right? Then deploy. Then what? Then operate. Operations team will come and operate. What else? Then monitor. You know what? In this whole process, yeah, I will make it a little smaller to accommodate whole thing into a single screen. Yeah, plan, code, build, test, deploy, operate, and monitor. Okay, there could be additional, right? There could be something in between the source code scanning, or maybe your binary scanning for vulnerabilities and infosec, etc., etc. So I'm just parking that. Okay, let it be. At this moment, you see some kind of a flow, right? So in this whole process, okay, in this whole process, how people do deliver, right? If you check here, this bunch of software developers develop the code. Where do they develop? They do develop on their own laptop. Okay, but obviously every person is doing on their own laptop is not very safe, in the sense for the business it's not good. If a person leaves the organization, what happens? If the person's laptop is crashed, what happens? So there is a tool called GitHub or Git repository. Okay, that's where Git comes. Okay, so I don't need to give more details. I will give the more details about the source control, source code management. Okay, CM later on. Okay, so for now, I would say .java, .py, .go, HTML, CSS, whatever code is now being put into the central repository that is directly in the control of your project owner, right? So that's one important task. Now what? After this, there has to be a system which will take this entire code, we clone it. Okay, we term it a clone. So there is a detailed discussion on Git, okay, in this training. Clone, then what? Build, and then what? Deploy. Okay, this is a typical expectation we have in this process, right? Clone, build, deploy. This whole thing needs to happen, then only it makes sense, right? The product will be actually released and then somebody will use. So there is a build server for that. Okay, we don't want to build in the Git repository only. Of course, we want to build on some server, some machine. So that's we term as a build server. Okay, build server. So how do? We do with Maven, let's say MVM. Okay, Maven. So if you look at this, when you plan, okay, you code, and there is something called Git needs to be there. When you build, there's a tool called MVN we need to have. Okay, when you test, there are other tools, like it's not only Maven, but Maven, Gradle, Make, etc., right? So it's not just one tool, but many tools. Okay, we might need to explore, right, or be aware of. Not necessarily you have to master everything. Now when it is testing, so Selenium, okay, you don't need to learn, but TestNG, etc. Then when it is deployment, Ansible is used heavily, then Chef, Puppet. Okay, these are also some of the configuration management tools used in deployment. Then in the operations, we use Ansible again. By the way, in many stages, we use Docker and Kubernetes. Dev people use Docker, Kubernetes to package their application. Test people use that. Deployment needs that skill. Operations need the Docker and Kubernetes as well. And what? Monitor. In the monitoring, we have Nagios or Prometheus. Okay, these are some of the tools. So it's a process, right? This whole process. Okay, in this whole process, so in the whole process there are different tools comes in, and we need to have that awareness on many of these tools. Okay, so as part of this course, okay, with Cognitia, so we have some of these tools, we will be discussing in detail, as part of the course. Okay, so in this DevOps, what it is, I will explain. But we have Git, we have Maven, Gradle, we have Jenkins, because Jenkins sits in between for every component, everything to join and automate. And that has a different advantage. I will clarify a little. Then Docker, Kubernetes, right? Then Ansible. Okay, these are some of the areas where we will be spending time. Puppet, Chef, right? And then cloud and maybe monitoring, Nagios, Prometheus, etc. Right? So these are already, you might have already seen the total outline for this course. So some of these tools are very much useful for everyone to know. So in this process, let's say I was referring here, there's a build tool. So there's a development happens, Git is holding every source code, all the source files, then build server will build your application, the Java application, etc. using Maven, and Maven will have, it will produce some binaries. Okay, probably those are class files or some binary files that is understood by system, by machine, right? Then finally, it's a prod server. Let's assume it's a prod server. Okay, or pre-prod. Directly we generally don't send it to prod. Okay, then there is a QA sign off. Okay, then there is a UAT. Okay, so these are some of the areas, like these are some of the things which happens, and then it goes to production, or sometimes it directly goes to the production. By the way, there are a slight difference. Okay, CI/CD, you hear the term continuous delivery. Okay, continuous delivery is through these processes and every sign off, and then there is a artifactory where the product is released, not directly put into the production. That is termed as continuous delivery. And continuous deployment is direct deployment after QA sign off or automation, it goes to production. So that's the CI/CD. And in this whole process, the binaries gets deployed, and there is some Tomcat or maybe some web server, and your application is now accessible to external user. Okay, but one thing in this process, let's say the developer has developed one feature. Okay, and the whole thing is happening, and it is probably taking a week. Then during that week, these developers might have developed something more onto that same feature, assuming that it's good. But after a week, we realize that the end user is not at all happy. Okay, or probably the operations team says that, hey, this is not of use. Okay, because what customer needs is better known by operations team, right? And that's where ops comes in picture, and ops has to tell how your product is, how beneficial is it for the customers, the operations team. Okay, see the simple example. Let's say we want to create a car, a nice car we wanted to create. Okay, so whether it's a nice or not, that is approved by the customer. It's not you and me, right? Even if we have created, we find everything good, and if this car runs only for 1 kilometer, then it is of no use, right? That feedback needs to be given right after the production. Okay, that we test internally. Probably we find everything good because the developers who are the creators, they find everything good. That's how they have created it. Okay, but the end user is the end user. Okay, they do not use the way we are the developers use, or for any reason they will have some feedback to give it to back to the developers. So that feedback needs to be given quickly, right? It should not be delayed a lot. Okay, then DevOps is the approach, or DevOps approach, a DevOps approach. DevOps is the approach. Okay, it's a process to reduce the gap between dev and ops operations. Okay, and it also reduces the friction between these teams. It is not only operations, the quality engineering and development, and then operations. Okay, so if a package is released by developers, that package has to be same everywhere. So if it is working for developers, and there are very high chances it won't work for the quality engineering people in a traditional way. Now today in the modern development, we have Dockerized or containerized applications, so there's no question of some dependencies, missing on some dependencies, and missing on some environment variables or configurations. So that is something we used to face 10 years ago. Okay, but nowadays those are not the problem at all because of this process, right? So this is a process of improvement, process of improving the efficiency. It's a continuous improvement. Okay, and that is one of the reason, like you see this infinite symbol, right? So it's a process to reduce the gap between the developers and the IT operations and testers, right? So DevOps sits in between. It formalizes the entire process, and this entire process is benefited for all the teams, right? So why do we need DevOps? There's a coding and operations teams have their timelines, and they are not in the sync most of the times, and there are further delays, and it creates sometimes a friction between them. So to adopt the faster updates, so DevOps helps here. So teams to deliver quickly, and deployment becomes smoother, right, in the software development process. So manual code deployments will create some errors, manual errors, human errors. So DevOps has various features that benefits, and that is the reason most of the companies, the major giants and the small companies, they opt for DevOps approach that is used to reduce the delivery time and reduce the gap between the developers and operations. Okay, so this is a theory, guys. Okay, this is a theory, but if you see, practically, when you start exploring the tools and you start exploring the entire process of automation, you will realize the power, how beneficial it is, and how simple it makes for the teams to deliver. Now these days, developers become faster. They are developing faster code, unlike people used to develop 15 years ago. Okay, now today they have everything in their hand, like ChatGPT, and then modern code, and the simpler code, faster code. So these whole things are there, right? Developers are faster. Quality engineering is faster now because they are doing a lot of automation. They one click and entire sanity is done. Okay, this automated test cases they have created. The operations is super fast as well. So the entire process needs to be joined and fed back to the development team. Okay, and that is the process, like commit, build, test, stage, deploy, and then give the feedback to the development team. Okay, so this is a green line that gives back the feedback saying that, hey, your development was okay, but then in the production, this is the problem it is creating, or it is of no use, or it is have some issues. Then development team will quickly commit. The moment commit happens, the whole process automatically starts. Okay, there's a way Jenkins detects the commits on the GitHub, and it will automatically start the whole process. That's the pipeline, and that GitHub integration we will see in the training. how we have that integration, how the automated builds are triggered, etc. Okay, so it's a continuous integration pipeline. That's a Jenkins. We will talk about all of this a little. If I have some time, I would like to show something on the hands-on part in this webinar, okay, to get you a feel of the tools we use and how we, cover this in the entire training. Okay. So it's a cultural movement, guys. It's not only for a product, it's not only for a particular technology, not only for a career, but it's for everyone to be there in the industry, to follow, to understand the bigger picture of the product development with whatever role you are in, right? These skills are important. Okay, so that's what we wanted to, have this discussion, detailed discussion in the course. Okay. For now, I'll pause for 10 seconds if there is any question. Okay, cool. I don't see any questions or any messages as of now. So good, everyone. I hope you are following me so far. I know I might be a little faster here, but remember we have a limited time and want you to talk, many things in this 1.5 hour of discussion. So I have a very fresh, brand new virtual machine on my AWS account. Okay, I know I'm a developer as well as DevOps. So you see here, I do automate everything. See, I run a Python script that goes on my cloud and lists down my IP address and I connect. Okay, that's how it becomes easy. Otherwise, what's the idea? To log in here to see. Okay, I have created a new server. Okay, probably I need to log into the new server. So my Python script will log into my AWS account and get these details. I needed only the node name and the IP address and the instance ID. So those are the things I can see: name, instance ID, and the IP address, the public IP address. Okay, these are the 3 things I fetched, okay, from the cloud account, my personal cloud account. Well, anyway, okay, that's the automation helps, makes your life simple, guys. Otherwise, I need to use my username, password, and some authentication additional, we don't want to do. So APT update, we're a brand new system. We need to update the APT repo for first time, and then it allows you to install whatever you want to install, right? So now, there are so many things to discuss, but one of the things probably I will try and explain to you something on Jenkins. Okay, so there are different tools available. So we can explore, like in the initial screen I showed you. So Jenkins, or introduction to Jenkins and setting up the pipeline. Then in the Git and Maven, so Git is separate again. So a separate decision on Git is done where we will have this on. But for now, there's a GitHub repository. Okay, I can use, and I will show you how we can have this integrated somehow with the with Jenkins. Okay, so first of all, let's install Jenkins. Install Jenkins on Ubuntu. Okay, I prefer to do everything on the site so that the latest documentation from the official site helps you. So for now, I will get this Jenkins installed from this link. So Docker installation, Kubernetes installation, Maven installation, Git installation, all these installations I follow this internet and get the right documents to do. Oh, my bad. It's already there, right? I have, no, how come I have it? No, 1 second. Jenkins is already there. Probably I logged into the wrong IP. New demo. Oh, it's a new demo. Demo server. Probably demo server is the one which I have created. Okay, today. Demo server is the one which I have created today. APT update. Because I wanted to get a very fresh server to demonstrate you guys. All right, APT update and APT install Jenkins. So Jenkins installation is now progressing. So I will install Jenkins. And by the way, in the training also, we will install every tool. So installation won't take too much time. But then, we will realize, we understand, how we work. Now, this time I faced one issue, one challenge, right? Now, to fix it, now since I know how to debug, I will explain later. For now, I need to remove because it got failed for the reason that it requires Java to be installed on the system. Now Java is not there in the system, so it is getting failed. So let me install apt install default JDK. Yeah, in this process, there is one more thing. Those who are very new to Linux, okay, Linux basics is good to have, okay, prerequisite. So don't worry if you don't know. So it's good to have. If not, some of the very basic stuff I will be taking in the class. So good to have is Linux basics, okay. It's really useful skill, guys. If you don't know, learn. Oh, sorry, no need to remove. I can directly install now. Okay, so that helps because I'll be using Linux, for everything, right from Git. But those who are in Windows, so Git, Maven, Jenkins, so these are the tools you can easily learn on Windows as well. Only for Docker and Kubernetes, then you will jump onto Linux. That's not a big deal, okay? So it's just not for Linux, okay? It can be for Windows also. Jenkins installation on Windows, Git and Maven we can use on Windows. Those who do not have Linux experience, for them I'm saying this, okay? All right, so I got my Jenkins installed. If I go onto my server, demo server, public IP address, the Jenkins works on port number 8080 by default. Okay, so this gives you the very first screen to get you the password for the first time to log in before you create administrator user. So you can use this, and just it will take a couple of minutes to install the suggested plugins. So Jenkins heavily works on the plugins. Okay, that's one. The second is, in the meantime, you can also install Docker on Ubuntu. So I wanted to give you a little overview or some bit on the Docker as well. So that's where you will learn how this Docker is. In the training we have one session for Docker, maybe 2 to 3 sessions for Docker and Kubernetes together, the 2 sessions for Ansible, 2 sessions for Jenkins. So we will spend quality time on doing all these activities during the training, guys. Okay. So for now, since the Jenkins installation is in progress, I would like to install Docker in the meantime. Okay. So now you guys have to sit, relax, and just watch, okay, carefully. But these things you will be doing it live in the class. Okay, when we do all these topics, it is the demonstration of each of the topic. It's just not to watch, but to do it in the class. Okay, that's something you should remember. Now, since the Jenkins is already in the process of configuration, now I have my Docker installed, okay? And Docker is another very useful technology, okay? You should be aware of. And GitHub is Git also, but Git we will have separate time to discuss, okay? So all these tools will be discussed in detail, okay? For now, I will focus on some of the very basic stuff. Let's say Docker version. Okay, you see it is working. Okay, or here also you have one simple command to validate whether your Docker is working well or not. So we are trying to run a container using hello world Docker image, and it clearly says that hello from Docker, and it says, the message shows that your installation appears to be working correctly. Okay, cool. I mean, our Docker installation is good. Our Jenkins installation is good. Probably I will see here some of the plugins are still getting installed. That's okay. Let it progress. Okay, what did we do? So the basic overview of DevOps. Then I touched upon many tools in a very super fast way, I know. But these tools we will be talking slowly, okay, later, each of the tool in detail by demonstrating, okay. DevOps or any tool we learn by doing it, okay. Theory won't help here, okay. So it will be mostly practical. Now, after that, we talked about Jenkins and installation of Jenkins. We talked about Docker and installing Docker. Docker installation is done. Jenkins installation is done. Jenkins initial configuration, setting up the required plugins, etc., is in progress right now. Okay, and coming back to Docker. Okay, so I want to create, or I want to show you some of the very basic things. Let's say Docker pull Nginx. Nginx is a Nginx server. That's a Docker image available on the public repository or a Docker registry called Docker Hub. Okay, some of the basic commands like Docker images, list the images on your system. So what is image? First we need to understand Docker and why Docker, the fundamentals of it, why it is, how it is different from virtualization. So what makes this isolation created, etc., etc. We will have the detailed discussion, and to summarize, to quickly give you, indication about what this image is. Image is the bundle or a package. Your software is packaged into one entity that is termed as image. So package is bundled means your software, your source code maybe, or your binaries, okay, or your dependencies, your configuration files, your environment variables, etc., are packaged. Okay, and that is the bundle that is termed as Docker image. And this image is static. If it is sitting on your server, it does not do anything. It's of no use. It's a static. Okay. But when you give life to that image, meaning when you make it live, meaning when you run it, so that runtime instance of that Docker image is termed as Docker container. Okay. So how do you see if we have any Docker container is Docker PS. There is nothing running at this moment. So there is an option Docker run -d to run it in a daemon mode, okay, detached mode, -d, then what? Give the name, -f name, okay, or you directly say name Nginx, okay. So, you have an option to run with the help of such commands, -f name Nginx, then -p or port or -p, -f port or -p. Port 80, I want to map it to the port 80 of the host, and what else? I will give the Nginx package here. Okay, that's how I run. Then if you see, the Docker container is running now. Okay, this is cool. So meaning like you see, okay, by the way, our Jenkins has progressed a little. Now on the other terminal, if I open the same URL with on port number 80, on port 80 my container is running, okay, and you see that container is responded now. That container is Nginx, and port 8080 Jenkins is running. Now Jenkins was running, so I created some users there. So sorry, I added some plugins, and I want to create a user, and you can pretty much see that Jenkins configuration is almost done. Okay, now this is how you set up a Jenkins. Now you can do a lot with the Jenkins. Okay, you can create an item here. You can install some of the interesting plugins, manage Jenkins. Various options are available that we will explore during the training. So what manages, what is plugin, why we need, what are security aspects, what are the additional options, how it is brought here by installing different plugins. So these are the areas to discuss, or maybe in my previous training I have summarized. So Jenkins related, installing Jenkins, creating your first Jenkins job, adding your node or agent, configuring pipeline project, scripted or declarative pipelines, GitHub integration with Jenkins, Maven integration with Jenkins. So all these are the important aspect of your Jenkins, and this is how the declarative pipeline looks like. So we write each and everything live in the class, okay, and that is how you learn, by writing. Okay, simple things. If you find complicated, that part you can comment and learn. Okay, these are basics of Linux again. Okay, so that's how we create. So we have an option to demonstrate or create some demo jobs and pipelines. So you can use some kind of this kind of a code. Okay, so that's one. I know I'm switching between Docker and Jenkins, but not to confuse you, please remember, wanted to give highlights of the topics here. So the detailed discussion, we will be able to do if we have enough time. Okay, right now, we have installed Jenkins on the one thread, and second on the other side, we have started doing something with the Docker. Okay, so I'm switching between these two topics. Okay, but those who are not able to follow, so hold on. Okay, each and everything we will go in a slow motion. Okay, we will slowly learn. First we learn Jenkins, later we learn Docker, and we thoroughly go through this. Okay, it's just not why I did write all these options on Docker. Okay, you will learn, you will understand. Okay, if you understand, it's easy for you to do. Okay, without understanding we can't really do it. So we need to understand each and everything. Okay, I will pause for 10 seconds. I want to hear from you. If there is anything, I can clarify if you have any questions. I look at the messages if there is any message. Oh, I saw, I can see there are so many messages. I did not see it earlier. There were no notifications. Okay, there is some messages from Cognitia support team. Kindly fill up this. Okay, this link is given here. Now there's one question from Bhumi. Can we install and use Docker Jenkins on Mac? Yes, we can install Jenkins on Mac, Maven on Mac, Git on Mac, but don't install Docker on Mac. You can, but avoid. Okay, we will do Docker separately. In that discussion, I will explain and clarify. Docker is primarily created for Linux-based systems. So Mac is also Linux-based system, but it won't work the way it is expected. But you have a provision, you can do it. Okay, on Windows also we can do, by the way, Docker. Okay, so we will use Linux, by the way, in the training. But other tools like Jenkins, Maven, Git, you can use on the Mac also. Okay, I hope I have answered you, Bhumi. And those who have other questions, okay, please put it in a chat box so that we can discuss, and I will try to answer them. There was one more question. Okay, I'll take questions separately, but just I wanted to, take some time because I was really going fast and many people might have some questions. So I thought of taking it here now. So sometime back there was a question. I'm not a developer, so maybe very basic. When the code from Scrum is completed, does the process follow the DevOps lifecycle? Oh, yeah. I mean, it was a DevOps related general question, so it is very subjective, but in general, that's true. Once the sprint is planned, that sprint delivery goes and the entire process begins. But that's not very limited to the sprint. Okay, on every commit, the process is there, right? So on every commit, there's a process. At least internally within dev team, they create their own process of automation and testing and validation. Okay, and sometimes the commits goes live, or especially the build will be released bi-weekly. Then such builds are tested thoroughly in the entire DevOps lifecycle. Okay, the entire process gets triggered. So again, that's a subjective, but this is what in short I wanted to answer. I will take other questions a little later. So for now, so I hope you are clear. I have created a Jenkins installation is done. Now we can create a Jenkins pipeline, and we can write some code and do some basic stuff. Let's say demo and a freestyle project. Okay, you create and do some configurations. This is my first Jenkins job. Then you can have some options here. There are different options. You can get the code from the source code from Git, or you can build periodically. You can have some hook to the GitHub to trigger the pipeline through GitHub commits. Okay, all these options are available. Okay, you can try explore that. But there is a shell commands we can write. Let's say echo starting my first job. Okay, date, pwd, ls, and so on. Okay, echo end of job. Okay, there's some simple stuff like a basic Linux commands, and if I want to build, so this build will go and it will execute, right? It will get executed. Now, see, started by Ganesh and it is running in this workspace. We talk about this workspace, what it is, how it works. You know, this is a date command, pwd, this is where the, you know, it is working, echo command. So all these commands are getting executed. So this is how the job is created and, you know, we can execute. So there are so many options to explore and some of the options to configure so that we can see, okay, how we create. And there are different types of projects. Okay, like we have done it a freestyle project, we can go with the pipeline project, multi-branch project. So, you know, those options we explore as part of the training, right? And we do it, by doing it, we see, right? For example, this is how we can do with some kind of a coding in Groovy or some kind of a configurations we do to get this Maven integration, etc., right? So this is just for your eyes, but yeah, I just thought of clarifying on Jenkins. Now I want to come back to Docker. I'll pause for 10 seconds. I will come back to Docker for another 5 minutes, and then I'll open for the question answers. All right. So we have seen some basic stuff: Docker images, Docker PS. Images, we have Hello World and Nginx. PS is the running process that is called container, right? So this is how we run a Docker container using a built-in image which is available on the public registry. You know, we can also create an application, okay, using some Python code. I will take you directly to my GitHub repo. Okay, in this repo we have a lot to practice. You can explore that, you can learn, you can read. This is a open for everyone public repo. Gbure is my handle. Okay, you can fork this page and you can see if it is of use for you, right? During the training we will use this, but we will do everything live. Okay, for example, this is a Python based class based application. Okay, we used to to deploy. Okay, it's a microservices, and we want to deploy, meaning we want to create a Docker image. So our first Docker image we can create using this Docker file. So Docker file is the file which holds the instructions to used for creating your Docker container, okay, or Docker image. So now, Docker build is the command. Okay, we use Docker build to build the application with some tag, and let's say myapp:1.0 space dot to indicate to use a Docker file in the current directory. So we are building our own Docker image. Okay, there are sites, there are documents or PPT, PowerPoint documents that also helps you learn more into Docker in detail. But for now, I just want to show you one thing. Yeah, so this is the architecture. So in this architecture, you see on the client, we run commands like build, pull, run. Okay, the daemon in the back in the Docker software will take these instructions and perform the actions, okay, accordingly. For example, build is building your Docker image. Now, if you see Docker images, you will see list is now increased with one more new image. That is my own image. That is something we have created, my app :1.0, right? And by the way, you can do run, okay, Docker run. Okay, you remember this command, Docker run -d -name, let's say my app, and -p port. Now this is not an engineering, so I made it run on port 8080, but on my host I cannot use port 8080 because on port 8080 Jenkins is running. Okay, so I use port 81 to map my port 8080 of my app. Okay, so my app image I use, and this is how I run, and this is how I can see my container is now getting started. Now if I go back here, instead of port 80, if I use 8081, so it gives hello from container. This is my first Docker container, right? If I go back and check my application, so this is the message we have put into the code, and this code is now containerized. Okay, a simple example to make you understand to create your base. Okay, now we do more exercises, more stuff around Docker to understand. Then later on we jump more into Kubernetes to learn about Kubernetes. Okay, so that's the idea, guys. So a little bit of demo. I know I cannot justify so many things in such a short time. So, but this is the way. This is how I do deliver training. So maybe with all live demonstration and exercises, practical understanding of each concept, you will get benefited with the training. So that's what I wanted to cover as part of this DevOps program. So, and in DevOps, it's just not one tool. There are so many tools, and for each tool we have so many different concepts to learn and deep dive. So Kubernetes is something similar, like we will learn about the architecture of Kubernetes, okay, how Kubernetes works, okay, what makes it so popular, so why we need in the first place, and so on. Okay, so if you get this a better understanding, then you will learn other things to automate. For example, cloud automation, for example, the Ansible, how it is helpful to automate or to do some kind of a configuration management in terms of infrastructure as well as your multi-container application, right? So Git and Maven, one day for Git, one day for Maven, okay, then 2 days for Jenkins to explore. So these skills together will benefit you, and it also teaches you how to learn new things. So DevOps is not limited to the tools which I will be covering in the course, but it will give you a base to know how to learn new things. Okay, it's about new things, because in one of my role when I was working with DevOps, so we wanted to do infosec. Okay, let's say CI/CD automation. CI/CD all. Maybe I don't remember the name of the file, but maybe I will open some. Just give me a second. Let me open. So there are some projects or some kind of automation, okay, people try and do. So such automation, there will be different tools mostly you will come across. Okay, so for example, okay, I could just pull something randomly which came in my mind. So CI/CD process. In this process, it's not limited to developer commit, developer pipeline, code compilation, unit test coverage. Then the static code analysis, this is a new thing. Nexus, okay, that's a new thing. So this is what, like, the journey is not limited. Somewhere you need to do a process of scanning your code, source code, white source scanning, or scanning your Docker images before you put into the Artifactory. So these are the new tools you might come across when you work in real time. Okay, but if you learn how to learn the things, how to explore and install and use the tools, existing tools, the new tool become easier for you. Okay, so that's how, like, there are so many things to explore and to try. Okay, try out. So such tools is what we need to learn in the course, right? As part of this DevOps journey, it's a super exciting journey, guys. So I remember I have been into different roles. So I worked on many projects, different roles I worked in, and I really enjoy the kind of automation we do, we see, and for responsibility own as a DevOps engineer. So it is really good and kind of a satisfaction as well. It's more fun if you automate and if you do something. Okay, so and even if you are a developer, knowing this tool makes you special, actually, right? So that's what I wanted to cover. I hope you were able to follow me. Any question for me? I will pause for a few seconds here. Okay. In the meantime, let me read out some of the questions I see from all of you. So, Anuj, is it possible to get Docker file instructions from Docker image? Docker file instructions from Docker image means the other way, like you are using Docker image to create you are using Docker file to create Docker image, then there is no practical need of creating a Docker file back from the image, right? But yes, it's not possible to produce such file, okay? But what do you need is something you need to clarify, so that is there any alternate way to achieve what you're looking for? Maybe I can explain there, but no way like we can create a Docker file from the Docker image. But yes, from the Docker running instance container, from container we can create image, from image we can create container. So these are the activities we can do. Okay, Anuj. Then Afroz, is the session being recorded? Will the recording is shared with everyone? I'm not very sure about this particular session. Yeah, this session is being recorded, but I'm not sure if they will be able to share or not. You can drop an email to support@cognitia.com. So they will, if they can, they will definitely share, no problem. But generally our training programs are all being recorded and you get the lifetime LMS access, so that you will be able to log in, you get username, password, and support, a nice support system, I would say, from Cognitia. So they will support you to clarify your issues if you have any, but otherwise they will give credentials, and that is lifetime credentials for you. You can log in anytime to the portal and you will see all the documents, material which I will be sharing in the class, as well as all the recordings for all the sessions. So that being said, it's not recommended to skip the session and watch the recording. So, try to be in the session, and then the recordings are for future references. Okay, it's easy for you to refer and recollect. Recording will be uploaded on Cognitia website. Yeah, sorry. Krunal has already answered that, but yes, they will upload. Then you can definitely go through this. But I have just added a little saying that during the course also there are recordings. So the support team will guide you on that. Any other further questions anyone has? I don't know if you are allowed to unmute and speak. If yes, so you may speak also. If you're not allowed to unmute and speak, please drop drop messages. If possible, I will answer. So Cognitia has many other virtual trainings. Even before COVID, they used to provide virtual learnings and online trainings, and they are, uh, super expert in providing trainings and supporting through their LMS system and support system. So there are data science courses, then advanced cloud computing, PMP, DevOps, okay, Microsoft Azure, ITIL, machine learning, and Docker and Kubernetes. So these are some of the courses they offer across the globe. There are multiple different participants from different regions of the world. They join and get. Okay, so that's all. So I will again check if there is any question I might have missed. There's a Q&A section. Okay, I'm not able to chat with team. Oh, sorry, that I did not realize. I don't know what's the solution then. You may drop email and get in touch with the support. Someone will call you, and probably they will get all the questions, even if it is technical. So they will route it to me and I will reply. Okay, sorry for that. I don't know what's the issue. How about others? I think many of you were able to chat. Sneha says, is the training paid and what is the charge? I think, again, the support team will guide you on that. Okay, could you drop email to support@cognitia.com. Okay, thanks for making your time, Sneha, for this workshop or a webinar. A very short webinar, okay, but I hope I have tried giving you the insights of DevOps, the basics of DevOps, okay, and the course have a detailed discussion on each tool. Okay, so you will get this query answered by support team. So please drop email to them. All right. So I'll pause for another half a minute. If there is no question, then I think we are good to close for today. Thank you everyone for making your time for this webinar. Very short webinar, but I tried giving my best to make you understand, get your awareness of the DevOps process and tools. So hope this benefited you and hope to see you. Thank you again. I'll be there for half a minute if there is any further question. Maybe you may feel free to drop. We are done for the day. Thank you. Okay, thank you everyone. Bye-bye, good night, and have a good day. Bye-bye.